Hey, remember when Bernie Sanders said we should have free college for everybody, and that was going to cost around $60 billion a year? Some people said 70, some people said 80. It was around 60, 55, something like that. Everybody was like, what are you, crazy? Who's going to pay for that? Who's going to pay for that? Well, Donnie Tanahan's just proposed $54 billion more dollars for a military that we don't need. $54 billion more. And not one person. How are you going to pay for that? Not one person. Have you heard anybody say that?
No, I heard about Republicans complaining it wasn't high enough.
It wasn't high enough.
That's the only thing I heard.
Nobody said, how are you going to pay for that? And guess what? This is from Fox Business. Military stocks rally as Trump prepares to hike budget. So that's who runs this government. There's a handful, certainly our foreign policy. There's a handful of military-industrial complex contractors, and they run the government. Foreign policy. This is it. Defense contractors rallied Monday after White House officials said President Donald Trump's upcoming budget will propose $54 billion in military funding. How's he going to pay for that? So when you spend $60 billion and give people a college education, that's not a cost. That's an investment, because those people then go on to get good paying jobs and they pay a shit ton in taxes and they become a productive member of society. You put $54 billion in the bombs and it just creates more terrorists. And there's no return on that investment. That's it. We just might as well just dig a hole and it's worse because we're creating more enemies. But nobody, how are you going to pay for that? Trump's budget plan would allocate a total of $603 billion for the Pentagon, up from the current cap of $549 billion. The $54 billion increase would be approximately 3% more than the former President Barack Obama proposed budget for them. Wow. So Barack Obama, also a big military-industrial complex puppet. Remember, he took 2 wars, expanded them to 7, ran out of bombs in Syria. He ramped up Afghanistan, unramped, re-ramped, went back into Iraq. We're bombing in Yemen. Under Barack Obama's watch, we went into Somalia again. Lockheed Martin, the top supplier to the Pentagon, nearly surpassed its 52-week high in mid-morning trading. Shares rose 1.6% to $268 a share. 52-week high for Lockheed Martin. So it turns out Wall Street's at record profits. Corporations are at record profits. Military-industrial complex at record profits. Meanwhile, half the country's poor. People can't afford their medicine. 33 million Americans don't have health care. Sounds like we have a broken system. You think Tom Perez and Keith Ellison are going to tell us that our system is broken? Because they're not. You think Nancy Pelosi is? Because they're not. We have a broken system, which is why we need a revolution.
But Jimmy, we're capitalists.
Look what's going on in this goddamn country. And the news media is not screaming about it. They cheer on every goddamn war. Since Election Day, Lockheed Martin has gained 11.9%. Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, and Boeing also spiked in Monday morning trade. Many defense stocks have been up sharply since Election Day. Back in November, analysts predicted that a Trump victory would propel defense contractors, especially companies that build jets, tanks, ships, and other heavy equipment. Wouldn't it be great if it was contractors who build schools and hospitals and parks and bridges and roads? Wouldn't it be great if they were the ones? Wouldn't it be great if their stock went up? Wow. We're so lost as a country. Chris Hayes knows who's the problem is, though. It's Susan Sarandon. The budget, which will be presented to Congress soon, will offset increases for the military with budget cuts across the rest of the federal. So they're going to cut money in other places where it's needed. They just cut $54 billion somewhere else out of the budget to give it to the Pentagon. The White House is reportedly planning to cut funding from the EPA and the State Department budgets. According to a recent, and get this, now this is stunning to me. Get this, this is unbelievable. According to a recent Fox News poll, 58% of registered voters believe the United States military is stretched too thin. Stretched too thin. Boy, the news media is really doing its job, aren't they? Aren't they? When 60% of the goddamn country thinks the military stretched too thin in the middle of no, we have no enemies. We have a bunch of guys with kitchen knives. They don't have airplanes. ISIS and Al-Qaeda do not have airplanes. We're stretched too thin. We have 1,000 military bases around the world. 1,000. A quarter of the poll's respondents said the government spends the right amount on the military. 58% said they're stretched too thin. 25% said they spent just about right. The Goldilocks, that's about right. $600 billion, that's about right. $600 billion. Another 45% believe the military spends too much, while 25% think it spends too little, while 25% think it's too much. So according to this poll, 25% of people think it's just right. 25% of people think that we spend too much. Only 25% of people in the country think we spend too much money on the military. Only 20, so that's 1 in 4. 3 out of 4 people think we either don't spend enough or we're spending enough. Almost half the country thinks we're spending too little on the military. 45% think we're spending too little. News media, again, doing a great job. The news media, this is a failing of the news media. Because you want to see defense spending in billions of dollars. This is the United States, $600 billion. Look who's next to us. So China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, France, the United Kingdom, India, Germany. It takes all those countries' military spending to add up. And that's China. We dwarf what China spends. If we just spent what China spent, we'd have about $300 billion left over. You give everybody college. Give everybody college. You'd have the most kick-ass infrastructure. Look at that. All those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, $600 billion we spend. That's China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, France, United Kingdom, India, and Germany. And who is this? Who are we fighting with this? Look how little Russia spends on their military. Do you see how little they spend? It's like $100 billion a year. It's like 1/6 of what we spend. Same thing for Saudi Arabia. Same thing. China spends, it looks like around $200 billion a year. That's what it looks like. 400 to 600. Yeah, they spend about 200. So if we just spent what China spends, we'd have about 400 billion left over. Boy, 400 billion could buy you a lot of stuff. Make you a great country. Saudi Arabia, France, it looks like they spend half of 50 billion. United Kingdom, England, India, Germany barely spends any. Germany, 50 billion on their military. Germany. I wonder why they have such a great economy. And at the bottom of this, it's a video. This is from CNN, and the caption: Trump will have one of the greatest military buildups. We already have the greatest military buildup. We're supposed to have a peace dividend since we don't have any real enemies anymore. The only enemies we have box cutters and they don't even have a plane. The hijackers had to buy a plane. They had to buy a plane ticket to get here. So there you go. I wonder when Trump supporters will wake up to that this is bullshit. I mean, that we're spending this much, that this is just a waste. This is a waste. This is You want to know where your shadow government is? You want to know who controls your government? Military-industrial complex. That's it. You think Eisenhower was kidding when he said you have to resist the undue influence, sought or unsought, from the military-industrial complex? He was a general telling you, I couldn't stand up to these motherfuckers. This is your shadow government. And every bomb that's bought takes food out of a poor kid's mouth, takes health care away from an old person or a sick person. It takes education away from someone who needs it. It takes a road away from a community that needs a bridge. We don't even have clean water in it. We're going to spend $54 billion more on bombs, but we still can't bring water to fucking Flint, Michigan. Still. And you tell me who owns our government. You tell me who runs this government. And so, the problem is this isn't Trump. This is the Democrats and Trump. This is the one government. This is the one party government. That's what this is. This is a one party government right here. Is that the Democrats' platform to cut the military budget and reinvest that money at home? I don't think so. And the news media does such a shit job. Most people think we don't spend enough money on the military in America. But the news media also has them convinced that single-payer health care is crazy and never going to happen, along with free college. And you wonder why people get their news from YouTube. Hey, the next live Jimmy Dore show is March 4th. That's a Saturday. Get your tickets right below. The next one after that is March 20th. The shows sell out really fast, so get your tickets right now. Links right there.